I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today. And I,
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So
You just watched that short clip, and it is hard to believe what you are seeing. We will watch the full exchange in a moment, but that opening perfectly shows the massive gap between some Democrats and reality, especially Ilhan Omar. Watching her sit there and question anyone about business ethics, pay, or how the real world actually functions feels completely disconnected from everyday experience. The criticism coming from her direction sounds ironic considering the long list of controversies and accusations that have surrounded her for years, including allegations related to immigration issues, campaign finance problems, and statements that many Americans have found deeply offensive. Yet she positions herself as the authority while questioning someone who has actually operated a business and dealt with real-world responsibility. It comes across as pure hypocrisy. In my view, this reflects a pattern where criticism of American systems comes from people who benefit from the very freedoms and opportunities those systems provide. The country gave her opportunity, prosperity, and a platform, yet her rhetoric often sounds hostile toward the same values that allowed that success to exist. Critics argue that her statements and actions repeatedly show disregard for the principles many Americans hold important, including respect for the Constitution and the people it represents. When you combine those concerns with the ongoing controversies surrounding her career, it fuels strong reactions from people who believe accountability should matter at every level of government. We're going to break down this entire moment because it says a lot about modern political theater. But before we get into it, if you believe in American values, free enterprise, and common sense, make sure you support the channel, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss future breakdowns. Now let us roll the full clip, because what follows shows how experience and real-world knowledge can completely dismantle ideological talking points.
thank you, Chair. Representative O'Neill, I'm just wondering, are there, I was a union member for a long time, and I've also gotten an opportunity to work in the private sector. And I'm curious to know if you know of any employer that has a provision where they decrease pay for employees. I find that a little strange, and so I just wanted to know where that thought comes from, and if you know where an employee gets their pay decreased.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was a business owner. I recently sold my share, so I don't own it anymore, but there are plenty of businesses out there, especially those that depend on employees' productivity. Like I was in the trades. So I owned a company that was a tile setting company, and if we didn't get out there and do the work, and if I didn't have highly productive employees, they were paid based on their productivity. So if they had issues, it is very possible that their pay would reflect those issues. If they were on probation for something, for some sort of violation, that could be coordinated with a pay reduction. It's something that businesses do all the time, and it could be the step before someone is actually fired. So it's an important thing, and it gets people's attention, you know, when they see it in their paycheck that their performance does not meet the standard.
Representative Omar.
Hudson, I think, did you have something?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hudson? Was there a question for Mr. Hudson?
No, I think he was saying that he wanted to add something, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
Mr. Hudson, is there a response to the question? Do you have a response to that question?
Madam Chair, yes,
Are you
ma'am.
saying that you aren't aware of any businesses that decrease pay? Because that was the question.
Madam Chair, I think what Chair O'Neill perhaps could be referring to, there are some instances where the pay structure is different. So for an example, she had indicated that she had come out of the towel industry. I'm not sure if these were commissioned employees who may have been on like an 80-20 split. In that instance, there is a situation where a pay might be reduced. Or if we have a supervisor who perhaps had a performance improvement issue or a behavioral concern, and we demoted this supervisor. That is an instance where pay might be decreased. But just an employee who has not been under some sort of performance improvement program, having their pay reduced, I've never heard of that.
Well, Mr. Hudson, I think Representative Neal knows exactly what she says. And I think we've had a little conversation back here when the question was asked. I know Representative Uglem, do you want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Omar, if you happen to be a salesman in this world, and you can be selling cars, you could be selling siding, you could be selling just about anything, and you are paid on commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So you can have good years, you can have bad years. Probably really one of the best examples is a real estate agent. So it's the idea that people can make less money year to year, not to mention all the bonus situations that are out there in industry. It happens. It happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily happen, here in the public sector, but it's pervasive and very, very common in the private sector. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that in the private sector as well, people, if they are not performing at their job, get demoted, and with that demotion comes a pay cut. And that's not even related to being in a commission position, that's just in a regular position as well. Representative Omar.
I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today. And
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So
Now let us slow this down because there is a lot happening in this exchange. Ilhan Omar opens with a question that immediately reveals how disconnected the perspective sounds. She asks whether employers ever reduce pay for employees and presents the idea as something strange. That reaction alone surprises many viewers because anyone who has worked in business understands that compensation often reflects performance responsibility. And results her question gives the impression of a worldview where outcomes remain the same regardless of effort, skill, or productivity, which simply does not reflect how most workplaces operate. Then Representative Barb O'Neill responds, and the contrast becomes clear right away. She speaks from experience, not theory. As a former business owner, she understands payroll responsibility and workplace accountability. She explains calmly that in real businesses, performance matters. If employees fail to meet expectations, break rules, or enter probationary periods, their pay or position can change. That is not punishment, it is cause and effect. It is performance-based accountability, which has long been a core part of how the American economy functions. Effort and results bring rewards, while poor performance brings consequences and incentives to improve. Other representatives step in to explain the same concept even more simply. Mr. Hudson mentions demotions, pointing out that when someone fails in a management role, they return to a lower position and naturally receive lower compensation. Keeping the same salary without the same responsibility would make no sense. Then Representative Uglem brings up one of the clearest examples: sales-based jobs. Millions of Americans work on commission, where income rises and falls based on results. Good performance leads to higher earnings, while poor performance leads to less income. It is a system built around merit and output. What unfolds in this moment feels like a clash between two different visions of America. On one side you have Barb O'Neill and others emphasizing hard work, risk reward, and personal responsibility, values often associated with business growth and economic success. On the other side, you have Ilhan Omar presenting a perspective that critics say leans toward guaranteed outcomes and less emphasis on performance accountability. To many viewers, the system she questions is not strange at all, but simply capitalism, the framework that drives opportunity and prosperity. This exchange sparks a larger conversation about what kind of leadership voters want in Congress: people with hands-on experience building businesses and taking risks, or career politicians shaped mainly by ideology? That is the debate playing out here. What do you think? Is this moment as disconnected as it appears, or is there another way to interpret her argument? Share your thoughts in the comments below.